Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to put on 10 pounds of raw muscle via this pure creatine. Monohydrate. Monohydrate. Everything's different in the world of me. This video is going to discuss the top 5 core issues with the newly reprised Grandmaster playlist. If you're not in the loop, let me just give you a little bit of history. Grandmaster Nightfalls were created with Shadowkeep in 2019. That playlist existed all the way until Edge of Fate. Edge of Fate then sunset Grandmaster Nightfall content. After massive amounts of backlash, Bungie then brought back or reprised Grandmaster Nightfalls as of Renegade's launch or the week after that. Overall, it's a positive change, but there are some constructive feedback and comments I need to relay. These are the top 5 core issues. If you want more top 5 style content and videos for other topics, I can do that, like top 5 weapons of this nature or that type of archetype, or top 5 exotics for barrier champions and stuff like this. I can do all of that, dead easy. If you want that, I can do it. But this is top 5 core issues. And I will say as well, it's not aimed at any, it's not a malicious video where, we're just barraging people or accusing or being nasty to Bungie devs and stuff. It's not like that at all. It's just to get the goal of the video is that we get the GM playlist in good working order so that it's in the right spot for the game. That is the goal, so that when it's sorted, we can say, oh, the GM playlist is very good now. Now we can move on and do some good things with it. But in its current state, it's not good enough. So I'm going to break down the top 5 core issues, not in any particular order of what's wrong and what they can even do about the playlist to get it right, because I have seen a downfall of the playlist already. The GM playlist already has depreciated since it launched 4 weeks ago, right? So if it's already depreciating now, by January mid-Feb, boom, no one's playing GMs. They'll play them once for the bonus focus, and then that'll be it, lads. Yeah? So this is a bad thing for the game, because your GM Nightfalls and that's the bread and butter of content when the Destiny 2 algorithm or content comes down to a slow March with your next big expansion, right? Or not big expansion, but big update. So that's a lot of weeks of waiting. In the meantime, people play GM Nightfalls. They also play weekly dungeons. They also play other things. But I'm on about particularly GM Nightfalls, and I'm saying if the GM Nightfall playlist is in a good spot, it can carry the game a little bit and tide us over until the next drop of content. That is why this video is actually rather important. So we'll now break down the top 5 core issues in no particular order of what's going on with this playlist. Okay, so for the first core issue regarding the GM playlist is a subject called boon stacking or self-build crafting mods. Let's go into exactly what this is so that no person is struggling to understand what we're talking about, right? So as of today, reset, right? Monday, we have mode modifiers, self-build crafting, combatant adjustments. Actually, a couple of these things do change, and they change on a 24-hour basis. So we are on a 24-hour mod basis for the Grandmaster Nightfall. It's not weekly Nightfall, it is the daily Nightfall that rotates with different banes, different self-build crafting mods, and sometimes some of this changes as well. The self-build crafting mods, if you did not know, follows the route of the portal. Let me prove it to you right now. Let's load portal up. Okay. Now, when we come to boon stacking, you will always find some boon stacking mod on the portal that mirrors the GM Nightfall. So the Grandmaster Nightfall is coded alongside the portal. I have been tracking the boons daily now for the last 7-8 days, And every single time, whatever self-build craft and boon is on the GM Nightfall is also on the portal. And that is proof, Grenadier. However, there are some boons that don't even come on. For example, Hypercritical, that never goes on GM Nightfalls. But you always get Grenadier, Heavyweight, Brawler, stuff like that. Okay? You also get things like Grit that go into not Buildcrafter mods, but they go into mode mods. And you've got all these little weird inconsistencies. What I'm trying to explain to you is, even though the Vanguard Alerts is a separate system, it shares systems among the portal, and that's probably for coding reasons. And you can actually value these Nightfalls to be portal activities. They work the same for scoring, bonus focus, the way we do the GM, the way champions work. It all mirrors portal, which will come on to another thing about all of that on another core issue. So what do we do about it? Well, it's simple. What we need to do is come to Vanguard. It's in the game, lads. It's in the game. The old Nightfall system. Yeah, come to this. Go here. Boom. Self-build crafting. Look at this. Void Surge and Stasis Surge. Now, those two surges will be on the entire week for this Nightfall. It's the old system. It's still in the game. People don't even know. What I'm saying is, for Grandmaster Nightfall buffs, surges are acceptable. In actual fact, they spice them up to the point where GMs do need surges so that you can rotate weapons in and out on a weekly GM depending on what the surge is. So say for example, it's Solar Surge. You might want to use Polaris Lance. I'm not saying that we are using it. I'm giving you an example. Void Surge. Maybe I want to use Graviton Lance this week because it's Void Surge. Yeah, Stasis Surge is up. Maybe I want to use a unique Stasis Prime that I have in the vault. Do you see what I'm saying? We've done this for years upon years. All GM Nightfalls should always have a surge, and they're not even having surges on the new system. So I deem surges as acceptable. So going forward, the Grandmaster Nightfalls should have a surge, a weekly surge, not daily rotating, a weekly surge, right? Now, the reason why it should be weekly is because when people are making videos or content creators are making videos, yeah, and they're saying, here's how to farm the GM Nightfall. That farm's limited for 24 hours. But this isn't just a content creation problem. This is a people problem as well. When somebody gets online and they've just got online after work and they lose the buff Grenadier and it goes to a harder mod, they have just lost out massive farms because of that. So it's FOMO. It's GM FOMO, and we need to get rid of it and have it weekly. Like, they should just get rid of boons out of GMs. They are ruining the playlist, because if Grenadier is up, it ruins the experience, makes it far too easy. However, if Grenadier is not up, then the GM Nightfall feels like a slog, because you're like, well, damn, I should have done it a few hours earlier. I'd have been able to do it 3 times as fast. They can either do it where they remove boons entirely from GMs, or they have one set of mods for the week. So if Grenadier is up, it's up for every day. But I don't think having Grenadier up is fair. I think what is fair is having surges. I mean, you look here, there's no surge. I would like Solar Surge on here, Strand Surge, Stasis Surge. Maybe have Rainbow Surges. Like we used to do Rainbow Surges or Rainbow Burn in D1. Go back to some sort of that system where we're playing around with weapons and configuring different weapons based on that. If it's Grenadier, you know what it is. It's lights out. It's getaway artists. It's grapple melee hunters. Yeah? It's whatever you do on time with Grenadier, right? That's what it is. And it comes down to this mini game of, you know, of you micromanaging between that on a daily basis, and it's just not fun. Even if there's a farm there, that farm's only limited for 24 hours. So, my suggestion is get rid of the boons, and we have weekly surges for the weekly Grandmaster, and none of this changes. Even the banes stay the same. It's annoying as well having rotating daily banes. You've got Shield and Cascade today, right? That's easy. Yesterday's reset had Screebs. Yeah? Caltrops it had one day. Whenever it has Caltrop banes. So it's also unfair. Like, if it wants to be Screebs, it can be Screebs for the entire week. That's okay. We're okay with that. What we're not okay with is these banes constantly changing every time. It's just annoying to play around with that. So there you go. That's my advice. It's for The boon stacking situation for GMs, if it's a GM and they want to call it as a prestigious name, they need to get rid of these self-build crafter mods and do what I've suggested by adding burns instead. That is the first core issue. The next core issue surrounding the GM playlist is primary weapons, particularly legendary primary weapons, but exotic primaries are even suffering a little bit as well, but they do more damage than legendary counterparts. I'm sure we know this. Weapons like Revision Zero, Le Monarch, Malfeasance, stuff like this, they don't suffer as much, but legendary primaries really do suffer in minus 50 Grandmaster content. Yeah, now one of the S plus weapons of recent times, Horror's Least, is better than what I said it was 4 weeks ago, but even an S plus new tier 5 shiny Horror's Least, even that weapons can still struggle in Grandmaster content, and I've got the footage to prove it. Now, it's not. I don't want you to just think that it's a Horror's Least problem. It is a primary problem right across the board. None of the legendary primaries are doing the damage. Say, for example, this primary here, Aisha's Embrace, it's a very good weapon, this. It's a good weapon in Conquests, but in GM minus 50, it really does suffer, right? All legendary primaries are suffering. It's not just pulses, it's scouts, even hand cannons. These spread shot hand cannons, this isn't the God Roll, by the way, but for example, this spread shot hand cannon, it's very good in everywhere. It's good in 90% of the game. The only place where it's not good is in GM content against barrier champions and Lawless Frontiers. It struggles a little bit in Lawless Frontiers as well. Because, I mean, we've got barrier... Barrier hand cannon. Barrier hand cannons are terrible. They don't even work. They don't even work in Grandmaster content against barrier champions, right? So we are in a primary epidemic. This is more of a game-wide problem rather than just GMs. But I am bringing it up because it's a massive problem to GMs. You are really locked into only a few set of weapons. Ideally good special weapons like Riptide, Rocket Pulse Rifles, Rocket Sidearms. Yeah, they also perform really well. But for the most part, all your weapons are suffering in GM content, and it's not a good thing. And they suffer in Lawless Frontiers as well. Yeah? Whereas your Praxic Blade is absolutely melting and doing everything that you would hope it would to ever do in the game. This is the best sword that Bungie has ever created since swords came out in D1. It's better than Raze Lighter, Dark Drinker. It's better than every single sword you can ever imagine. Why? Because it build crafts with every build in the game. But the thing is, I think Bungie has sort of overtuned it far too much to the point where this is all we use. Because it's got barrier rounds. It has barrier intrinsic. Let me have a look at the tooltip. It doesn't tell you. There it does. Throw your Praxic Blade to hit multiple targets. Strong against barrier champions. It's hands down one of the best barrier weapons in the game right now, and has infinite ammo, right? So that's another problem that's sort of hurting the primary gameplay situation, is because why use a primary when you can use Praxic Blade? And that's fine that we can enjoy that, but we are playing a first-person shooter, and there's no way that primaries should be the way they are. This is probably the worst primaries I've ever been since 2017, and I have played a lot of Destiny 1 and 2, and I can tell you, primaries in GM content are as worst, as bad as I can ever remember. I know there wasn't GMs in 2017, but there was Prestige Nightfalls, and primaries were suffering back then as well. Nowhere near as bad. It's worse now than it was then, because we're in a special weapon meta, right? We're in a special weapon meta, even double special, right? Where you use double special weapons and such. So yeah, this is more of a game-wide problem, but they need to do some sort of blanket buff to primary weapons. I don't know what they can do for that. Could they blanket buff every single archetype? I don't know. I don't know what they can do to aid it. All I know is that the game's quite bad to play now on a first-person shooter perspective, and I think they need to get some consistency the first half of this year. If they don't, I foresee a lot of pushback on this, and people will get fed up of it. It's been over a month and people are getting fed up now. There's some people on the other fence that love the Praxic Blade meta, and I do too, but I have seen a hell of a lot of comments about people saying, well, I'm sick of Praxic Blade, sick of it. And It's just far too overtuned. And the fact it's got barrier. If it didn't have barrier, I don't foresee Praxic Blade as much of an issue in GMs as it is, but it has. And there's no good barrier weapons. That's another problem. They didn't add any barrier weapons. They got barrier hand cannon, they don't work. Barrier snipers working good. I'll give them props. Barrier snipers good. Some snipers perform excellent with this mod, like Supremacy. Darcy performs very well with it. Cloud Strike does as well. So there are some barrier snipers that are good, but there's no barrier. Barrier primary weapons that are good, like barrier pulse, barrier scout. There's none of it. Or, there's just nothing that's good that way for barrier champions, and the game is oversaturated with barrier champions. Yeah. A suggestion I would make as well, at the back of them buffing primaries if they do, is to buff champion density. I think I'm the only one that's ever said this, but I think they should buff champion density to double the effect. So every time you encounter an unstop, it's 2 unstops. If you encounter 2 barriers, it's 4 barriers. Or mix and match them. 2 barriers, 2 overloads. Like, what you need to understand is the champion density is exactly the same as what it was in 2019. The exact same formula exists now as it did then. Every encounter, engagement by engagement, involves 2 unstops, 2 overloads. 2 unstops, 2 overloads. The only GM to break the mold is Warden of Nothing. Yeah, that's why I love that damn strike, because it changed the way we played with champions. You had all 3 types of champions in there, barrier, overload, and unstop, when Warden was hard back in the day, long time ago. But what I'm saying is, Warden and Nothing changed the way we interact with champions. They would fight each other. There was far more interactions. And what I'm saying is, in all the other GMs, it's the same every time. You're up against 2 unstops. So what? You're up against 2 unstops. What if we was up against 3 or 4? Up champion density, but on the back of that, buff primary damage against them. I think that's where primaries need to maybe be buffed, is against yellow bars, ultras, not red bars. Red bars not so much. I mean, yes, still maybe want to buff against red bars as well. But champion damage for primaries is where it really does suffer. And I've got a clip to prove it to you. Right? So this is all of these issues, by the way, with the primary is the same situation in Lawless Frontiers, right? It's the same thing. I don't know the minus content for Lawless. When we come on here, it scales up, doesn't it, as it goes along? It says it's minus 25. It's not minus 25, is it? It's more than that. I believe at the end it scales up to skull enemies, so maybe it's minus 40. I don't know. But primaries are a bit of a problem in Lawless as well. Well, a huge problem. So yeah, that's the primaries. They need to blanket buff them for endgame content. I don't know exactly how they go about doing that, but we are in need of it massively. So that's point number 2. Okay, so here is proof that primaries are suffering in minus 50 content. If this clip doesn't prove it to you, I don't know whatever will. Come, Mr. Unstop. I've got a cauldron of soup around here for you. I know that you're into that stuff, with you being so chunky and stuff. Radiant, stun with opening salvo. Look at the damage. Right, this test is just to do primary damage only to this champ. Let's see how many stuns it takes, Luckily I'm an expert on movement and cliffs and rocks and environmental design. Right, that's stop number 2. Is he a third? He's not even a third damage. And Horror's Least is S plus primary for nowadays with Accelerated Assault. It's actually rather good primary as well. That's stun number 3. That's 3 stuns. The champ is a third HP. Are you starting to listen now that the primaries are not doing the damage? We've never had it that bad. 4th stun going in. That's with Radiant. And I had a moderately high weapon stat as well. 4 stuns. Yeah. Having to bait round this unstop. We haven't even started the GM yet. Look, I've stopped counting how many stuns it is, because I know it's too much. There's no way it should be this amount of stuns. Right? Look, yeah, we're not using no heavy, no nothing. It's all primary to prove it to you. Proving it to you that, yes, primary should not melt through champions like butter, but it definitely should not be upwards of 6 to 7 stuns of an unstop. No way it should be that much. Not the fact that abilities can do tremendous amount of damage, but yet a weapon cannot. Now, This clip is going contrast to that. Contrast. Let's do some damage with Praxic Blade. I haven't even got the right mods on for this. I didn't even have a Sword Storm combo on. But you'll see the amount of damage that Praxic Blade does to champions at minus 50 under. And this is done on intention to sell your Renegades as a Star Wars expansion. And they have definitely sold us on the Praxic Blade. They've done an amazing job. But that is crazy, the difference between Praxic Blade and a primary. Point number 3 is Platinum rewards and overall Grandmaster Nightfall scoring. This is a massive one, this. So before we actually get into this, we need to understand how Grandmaster Nightfalls are actually scored. Okay. Now, as I said on point number 1, is that the Vanguard alert system shares similar coding to the portal system. So you see here bonus focus for the shotgun hand cannon. Achieve grade B or higher to earn this reward. Yeah, and when you go on it, and it's a preset made mods, as we've said, obviously daily rotating. However, there is a scoring system for it and you achieve grades. It's just like the portal system. And for me, they need to get rid of the portal scoring system for GMs in particular. They can keep their scoring system for the general portal, but for Grandmaster Nightfalls, there should be an entirely new, not a new system, but the old system that they've got. See how it says you've got scores? This means you get time bonus, lads. This means it is in your best interest to skip more ads and even champions. This is bad. In the fact that you can skip champions and still get a good grade and potentially get a GM shiny weapon, which we'll come on to on the next core issue. So they need to get rid of it. It's the same portal system, right? Let's go on it. Just click on a mission, for God's sake. Show you it, right? So there, you've got your grades. See, so it follows the exact same rules. The GMs is following the same rules as the portal, and it shouldn't at all. The scoring should be entirely different. So what should the scoring be, right? We come over to the world tab here. It's in the game. It's already there. Nightfalls, okay? So it's got, at this particular moment, it's got advanced, okay, expert, and master difficulties, right? See how you get Nightfall weapon common for master, Nightfall weapon common for expert, and then for advanced it's uncommon, and the materials change up and down. I've got a little bit of a tooltip here for you because I couldn't find any good tooltip information about platinum rewards. It was a system that was created in 2019. So you see an image on screen. So you've got a system, right? This is the old GM system. It's got bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Platinum rewards. On platinum rewards, well, let's go for it. Bronze, it'll just give you a couple of enhancement prisons and cores. This is not exact information. This is just telling you roughly how it works. Roughly, approximately. Silver, the rewards, you get a bit more of each. Yeah? Then gold, I believe cores stopped at gold. Then, on gold scores, you would then get, right, a possible of maybe exotics, and you have a higher chance of getting the Nightfall weapon non-adept. It would be a non-adept version. Then on platinum rewards, you would then get the maximum possible rewards for that GM for that week. It might be 2 Ascended Shards. It could be an exotic engram. It could also be it will be guaranteed a Nightfall adept weapon of that week. So take, for example, this week we've got the shotgun hand cannon. That's based on RNG after your first clear, which is no good. Whereas on the old system, it was guaranteed that you would get a weapon roll after the GM was beaten. So what does platinum rewards exactly mean? It means based on the amount of champions that you kill in a run. Each GM has a fixated amount of champions, and you would need to kill all the champions to get platinum rewards. And what I'm saying to you now, in current day system, skipping champions is incentivized for a faster clear, therefore better rewards. This is backwards mentality and needs to be took out of this playlist before it dies. Because I'm telling you something, if people don't watch solo GMs that I do, then I'm doing other stuff in the game. Right, because the playlist will die. It will go to a very minimum amount because it's not set and coded correctly or calculated. We should not be skipping champions. There should be platinum rewards. We had the system in place. Just give us what's in the game already. It's already in the game. We've showed you that it's already in the game on the old system. I guess because they've put it on the portal, it's coded by the rules of the portal, but that's no good for GMs. The portal's fine as it is with the systems that it has for the strikes and stuff, but for the Vanguard alerts, it's no good. The Vanguard alert GM playlist needs to be Holy Grail. It needs to be platinum rewards. So if you kill every single champion, imagine this, you kill every single champion, every single run, you will get you'll get the focus of the week, and you have a chance to get an accelerated assault on it, or a higher chance. That's how it should be based. And then you can start to farm the Nightfall, right? Because we can't farm the Nightfall properly. We can't really farm it. The accelerated assault GM shiny weapon doesn't actually drop that frequently outside of the first clear. Okay, but that's what's going to come on to my next point. So that's the platinum rewards. So the next core issue is double bonus focus farming and how we actually farm the GMs, which I touched slightly on the last point, but this is going to go more in depth into it. So as I said, the shiny GM weapons are very rare, which isn't a bad thing for the game actually. It's created a pseudo tier 5.5 in actual fact, because that accelerated assault origin, it cooks because it's got a lot of benefits to it. It's not just damage. 6% damage and the reload buff and the auto load. That's actually worth to go for, on certain weapons. That actually is. They've done a good job on that. What they haven't done a good job on is this double bonus focus malarkey. Back in the day, when it was double, we all remember it. What we used to do on double loot week, we used to farm the GM over and over for double bonus rewards. That was very entertaining. That kept the game alive for certain times of the game when nothing was going on. Everybody would be on it. Everybody would be doing the double bonus week, not double bonus, but double loot. It wasn't bonus nothing. It was just double loot for the week. When we get back to doing double loot, we need to do it for the entire week and not for the first run. That can allow players to be happily farming a GM. If you can get players in that playlist happily farming it, then they win. Another thing to touch on is Nightfall ciphers. Every single run that you do for the GM, providing it's a platinum reward that we've touched on previous, if they implement my platinum system in, is that every platinum rank run that you do, which is killing all the champions, you get Nightfall ciphers. We used to have this as well. They've removed it. Although, hang on a minute, we've got Pinnacle Ops Cypher, right? We've got Pinnacle Ops Cypher, but I haven't really messed around with it. But what I'm saying to you is, when we get the Nightfall Ciphers, we should be able to focus at Zavala, okay? So you go to Zavala in the tower, and you'll be able to hand in so many ciphers at a chance for an accelerated assault weapon. This is the way forward, lads. What I'm telling you may even happen. I would hope so that it happens this year. So what would happen is you get 20 stacks of Nightfall ciphers. Say it's costly, say it's 10 or 15 ciphers for one chance. You might get an accelerated assault. Yeah? So then there's another currency to farm by the GMs other than just the loot itself, the Nightfall ciphers. They changed it to Pinnacle Ops Cypher. I haven't even used these yet. But obviously, they're not that valuable because no one's even talking about Pinnacle Ops ciphers. So I'm just saying that if they want to get back to us farming GMs, we need double loot back like it used to be back in the day, rather than this bonus focus malarkey. It's a load of rubbish. It ain't working. This is only on the first clear. It's terribly designed. Needs to be reworked and throughout. Maybe for the whole of the portal needs to be like that. Like if we're going to do double bonus for the week, the entire portal should be like that. Would it be too much loot? Maybe, but I mean, at this time, who can grumble, We've got to make sure that we maintain our player base, and that's more important than having... I think players having too much loot is not the problem. I think what the problem is, us losing players is more of a problem than that, yeah? So I think just let people farm, So that is the GM shiny weapon situation, and then we'll come on to the next problem. And final core issue with the GM playlist is revives. As we've said already, The Grandmaster playlist shares the system with the portal, which means there are revives. There are revives in this. Now then, on the old GM playlist, there was no revives. So I'm going to explain to you what they need to do. Number one, remove the revive mechanic for revives gained back. Okay? There should be no revives. However, if you are in a fire team of 3, if one of your fire team members goes down, you can revive them. If a second fire team member goes down, you can revive him. However, if your entire team dies, you go to orbit. It's called extinguish. So let's just see. Is it on there? I don't know if it should be on there, right? Is it readable as a mod? As luck would have it, it's not. Hang on a minute, master. Extinguish. It's not even saying it. It's not even saying anything. Yeah, there was a mod called extinguish. So if your entire fire team dies, you go to orbit. So there is revives. So what I'm trying to explain is there will be revives for fire team members, right? You can pick them up. But when you are solo, there are no revives. So it needs to be solo flawless for GM. They need to go back to that. I'm going to show you a clip why it is so dumb that there is revives in this. You maybe not agree with his final point, but what's the point in the GM if it's just like the rest of the portal? Just sunset the playlist then if you want revives. I think if you want revives, then you go and play Portal then, right? Okay? I think that. I think, okay, you can't solo it, do it in a fire team. Because that's how it was back in the day. And it had a bit of motivation for people to seek out new strategies. If they kept dying, they would go and watch somebody or ask somebody advice about GM. How do I survive? So it had a bit of a pursuit with it. An endgame pursuit for perfection of build crafting. If we have revives, what's the point in anything? If you've got 20 revives in a GM, it ain't a GM, is it? Right? It just doesn't work. For Portal, it's fine. There should be revives in Portal, I feel. Especially in match-made stuff, when people eat revives. But it is based on, if somebody steps foot into the GM playlist, they will surely have a bit about them to want to clear that. And if they're a bad player that you've matched up with, well, then you can pick them up as a revive. But it is a endgame pursuit playlist, or should be. So no revive should be in there. You shouldn't have 20 revive tokens. It should just be, if your team does die, 2 of them, you can pick them up. If you can survive it, you can clutch it out, right? There's opportunity for clutch, but if your full fire team dies, you go to orbit. Anyway, so I've got some footage coming up, proving my point about the revive thing and how silly it really is. And finally, to prove the point regarding no revive mechanic, this proves it. I have grit right hand side. Yeah, the strat is to actually let yourself wipe, get a revive token, and get resistance for it. We can do this again. 2 times grit. Let's go 3. This should not be happening in GMs, lads. There's no way there should be revive tokens like this. If you die, then you go to orbit and you reset the run. And that's how it should be for GMs.